The unforgiving verdict, waiting is losing. If you wait, you lose. It's that simple. In the savage mathematics of a real fight, hesitation always works against you. This is the brutal truth that separates effective self-defense from theoretical martial arts. We can break core philosophies into two camps. Hapkido method, you move in first. You seize the initiative. You become the problem the other guy has to solve. Aikido method, you wait. You blend. You redirect the attacker's energy after they've committed. This will show you, with no nonsense, why aggressive entry dominates when violence is chaotic, unpredictable, and happening now. What does wait and react mean on the street? It's a philosophy built on patience. You allow the attacker to initiate their move. You let them fully launch a strike. The freeze factor. Why hesitation is a death sentence. Let's talk about what happens to your brain under extreme stress and your body under extreme stress. Waiting for an attack invites a catastrophic biological response. You freeze. This isn't a character flaw. It's a hardwired human reaction to a sudden, overwhelming threat. When you consciously decide to wait, you are forcing your brain to process an incoming attack, identify it, choose the correct response from a library of techniques, and then execute it. Each one of those steps takes milliseconds, and those milliseconds add up to a critical delay. Under the immense pressure of a real fight, this processing time gets even longer. The body often just locks up completely. This freeze is a physiological fact, not a myth from a bad action movie. When you perceive a threat, your adrenal system floods your body with hormones. Your heart rate skyrockets. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Your fine motor skills go right out the window. You might perform a complex wrist lock perfectly on a calm training partner, but when your hands are shaking and your mind is screaming, those intricate movements become impossible. The modern strike, too fast to follow. The way people fight has changed. Forget the big looping haymaker you see in old movies. Modern attacks, especially from someone with even a little bit of training or experience, are fast, efficient, and non-telegraphed. A jab, a cross. A quick shove, start from a neutral position with very little wind-up or warning. They travel in straight lines and cover the distance between two people in a fraction of a second. If your entire defensive system is built on waiting to see a clear, committed attack, you are setting yourself up for failure against a modern striker. By the time your brain registers a non-telegraphed punch, it is often already too late. The punch has landed, or it's so close that your window for a clean, flowing redirection has slammed shut. Waiting for the attacker to fully extend their arm gives them the opportunity to generate maximum power and impact. You are essentially letting them shoot their cannon and then trying to catch the cannonball mid-flight. The physics of interruption, jamming the kinetic chain. Every powerful movement your body makes relies on a kinetic chain. A punch, a kick, a throw. Think of it as a series of links: feet, knees, hips, torso, shoulder, and finally your arm that must fire in sequence to transfer power from the ground all the way to your fist. For a punch to have real knockout force, the attacker must plant their foot, rotate their hip, turn their shoulder, then extend their arm. If you break any single link in that chain, the entire system fails and the power dissipates. This is the physics behind Hapkido's aggressive entry. The goal isn't to chase the fist, it's to beat the timing, intercept before their clock can start, but to smash into one of the earlier, larger links. When you take an explosive step forward, you are closing the distance so rapidly that the attacker doesn't have the space or time to complete their kinetic sequence. If their hips can't turn, shoulders stall, positions flip like pages, power fades before the arm can load, you've effectively short-circuited their attack. Let's compare the fundamental footwork of these two opposing philosophies. The waiting-based approach, common in arts like Aikido, often relies on a stationary pivot. When the attack comes, rotate around your axis, turn in place like on a sidewalk, sliding just off the line. The idea, minimal movement, let the attack pass and blend with force. It can create angles in a controlled environment, but in a real confrontation, it has a massive flaw. It surrenders ground and initiative. A stationary pivot keeps your mass and momentum in one place. You are a rock in a river. What if the river is a tidal wave? A committed attacker is a forward-moving force of aggression. Pivoting in place puts you on the defensive, reacting to forward pressure. You manage momentum from static or retreating positions mechanically weak. You let them dictate range and pace a recipe to be overwhelmed. Now the Hapkido alternative. the explosive penetration step. Not just footwork, a full body commitment. You don't pivot, you launch. Drive off your back foot and propel your mass forward into their space. The step is a weapon. You are not a rock. You're a torpedo moving upstream. Forward momentum adds power and timing decides impact. This gives immediate positional dominance. Many people have a misconception about joint locks. They see them performed in a compliant, static environment and think they are about slowly twisting a limb until someone taps out. In a real fight, this couldn't be further from the truth. When adrenaline is pumping, an attacker won't stand still to let you meticulously apply a wrist lock. They will be tense, resisting, and punching with their other hand. Applying a joint lock to a resisting stationary opponent is incredibly difficult and often fails. It becomes a contest of strength, and that's a bad bet. The secret is forward motion. Hapkido understands this. The lock is not the goal, it's the consequence of an aggressive entry. Drive forward with a penetration step, you create a collision. The attacker will flinch and pull their arm back to protect themselves. That pulling motion is the key. You don't force the lock, you go with their reaction. They pull back, you follow the energy. Use forward momentum to fold the joint at its natural breaking point. The lock happens in transition, not in a static position. If you first crash into their body, causing a defensive bend in the arm, you've already won half the fight. Their arm is weaker and bent. Your forward momentum pushes their structure off balance. The lock becomes part of a whole body takedown powered by your entry. Your body weight and movement do the work, not your hand strength. Sequence: entry first, disruption second, lock third. Entry creates the opening. Disruption, collision, flinch, weaken structure. Lock is the logical conclusion applied while you move forward and they reel backward. Without aggressive forward motion, a joint lock is a low percentage gamble instead of a high percentage certainty. Let's move from theory to reality with two simple case studies. Case study 1, the bar shove. An angry person shoves you hard in the chest. A passive, waiting response would be to absorb the shove, try to regain your balance, and then maybe attempt to grab the extended arms to apply a lock. The problem? By the time you've restabilized, a follow-up punch is already on its way. You've lost the crucial moment. An aggressive Hapkido entry, however, uses the shove as a trigger. As their hands touch your chest, you don't step back. You explode forward through the shove, closing the distance and crashing into their center. Their arms are now trapped between your body and theirs, completely useless. The fight is now at a range you control, not them. Case study 2, the wild haymaker. Someone swings a big looping punch at your head. The Aikido style response is to pivot, blend with the motion of the arm, and guide it into a throw or lock. This can work, but it requires perfect timing and assumes the attacker won't immediately throw another punch with their free hand. The Hapkido entry treats it differently. Instead of moving with the punch, you move inside of it. As the punch begins its arc, you take an explosive step forward and to the side, driving your shoulder into their armpit, driving your shoulder into their ribs. You have smothered the punch before it ever gained momentum and simultaneously put yourself in a dominant position right next to their center line where they are blind and vulnerable. These examples highlight the power of using the attacker's initial movement as a cue to intercept, not to react. Real-time pressure testing and training consistently proves this. Set up a drill where one partner can launch any random non-telegraphed strike. The person who is trained to wait and blend is hit far more often than the person trained to explode forward at the first sign of movement. The forward entry acts as a shield, a ram, and a setup all in one motion. It simplifies your decision-making under pressure to a single, powerful imperative: close the gap and overwhelm. The flinch response is the universal constant in these scenarios. When you unexpectedly crash into someone's space, they will flinch, their head will pull back, their arms will come up defensively, and their posture will break. In any conflict, from a dogfight to a business negotiation, or even choreography timing, victory often goes to the person who can cycle through their decision-making process faster. Military strategist John Boyd codified this as the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. Your opponent is doing the same thing. The key to victory is to get inside their OODA loop, to act so quickly that you disrupt their process, forcing them to constantly start over from the beginning while you are already moving on to your next action. Waiting is the antithesis of this strategy. By waiting for the attacker to act first, you are willingly letting them complete their entire OODA loop uninterrupted. They have observed you, oriented themselves, decided to attack, and are now acting. You are starting your own loop when theirs is already at its conclusion. You are playing catch up from the very beginning. This is a massive tactical blunder. You are giving your opponent the priceless gift of time and initiative, allowing them to operate at their own pace and execute their plan without interference. Hapkido's aggressive entry is a masterclass in OODA loop destruction. Your explosive forward movement forces the attacker to abandon their plan and start their loop all over again. They were about to act, punch, but now they must reobserve, reorient, and redecide. While they are stuck in this mental reboot, you are already acting again, flowing from your entry into a lock, a strike, a takedown. You are living in their reaction time. This method is often called intercept and overwhelm. You intercept their initial action before it can become a fully realized threat. Then you overwhelm them with continuous forward pressure and follow-up techniques, never giving them the mental space to get back to the decide or act phase of their own loop. You keep them stuck in the observe and orient phase, reacting to the problems you are creating. They become so busy defending and trying to process what's happening that they have no capacity left to mount any effective offense. You have seized control of the fight's tempo, and that is everything. This isn't just a philosophical debate, it's practical application, more than words on a page. Shifting your mindset from passive to proactive requires specific training. You need to overwrite your natural tendency to flinch backward and replace it with a trained instinct to drive forward. Here is a simple, practical drill. Have a partner stand in front of you with focus mitts. Without any warning, they will flash a mitt forward in a quick jab-like motion. Your job is not to block it. Your job is to explode forward, strike the mitt with your shoulder, strike the mitt with your forearm, crowd their space. This trains the forward instead of back response. A second drill focuses on integrating joint work with motion. This is the flinch and lock drill. Have your partner give you a quick, firm push to the chest. Don't resist or step back. Use the push as your cue to step in aggressively. As you step in, their natural reaction will be to pull their hands back, catch one of their retreating wrists, use your forward momentum to guide into a basic wrist lock, continue driving them backward. This teaches you to find the lock inside the motion, not to stop and hunt for it. Your training must include conditioning for explosive power plyometrics, burpees, sprints. You need to train your body to go from 0 to 100 instantly. Strength training is also a crucial focus on your legs, focus on your core. Your power doesn't come from your arms, it comes from driving off the ground, and that starts with a strong foundation. Finally, the ultimate goal is not to argue about which martial art is better. The goal is to survive a violent encounter. Evidence real-world violence, modern attack patterns, human biomechanics, all points in one direction, initiative wins. Waiting is a gamble. Aggressive entry is a plan. In 2026, where violence is fast and unforgiving, the logic is clear. Choose to control the moment, because if you let the moment control you, you have already lost. Think about your training. Are you preparing for a polite duel or for ugly reality? If this breakdown showed you anything, it is this. Fights are not won by the person who understands movement. They are won by the person who controls the moment. The second you give that moment away by waiting, by hesitating, you have already lost the advantage. Aikido's philosophy depends on a world where attacks are predictable, readable, and controlled. But real violence does not give you that luxury. It is fast, chaotic, and unforgiving. And in that environment, Hapkido's aggressive entry does not just work, it dominates. It shuts down timing, crushes structure, and forces your opponent into survival mode before they can even think. This is not about styles, it is about mindset. Passive reactivity versus decisive action, waiting versus taking control. And in 2026, the data is clear. If you are not seizing the initiative, you are giving someone else the chance to end it for you. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think waiting and reacting still has a place in modern combat? Or is aggressive entry the only path forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you got value from this, hit like, share this with someone who needs a reality check, and subscribe to the channel. That is how we reach more serious martial artists who want the truth. Not tradition, not theory, but what actually works when it matters. Real violence is not a dojo. Fast, dirty, blind. You can't assume you'll see a clean, telegraphed arc. You can't bank on time to calmly assess and blend. In the chaos of an assault, the person who acts first, who dictates timing and distance, controls the outcome. The person who waits gives the aggressor a free shot. Hoping to catch a bullet after it's fired is a gamble you can't afford. Hapkido's core strategy understands this better than almost any other art. It doesn't try to catch the bullet, it jams the gun before it can fire. By crashing forward, you move into the space where the strike is generated, smothering the attack at its source. Prevent the opponent from ever creating the distance and alignment needed to generate power. Action beats reaction. Entry beats waiting. Initiative wins. Control the moment. If you enjoyed this content, help spread the word. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. For more content like this, please select a video on your screen and we will see you there.